Today, we're going to be going over all four LEGO Star Wars Republic fighter tanks that have been released over the years, dating back to 2008. I know you probably are not aware of the fourth one. I was not either until I was doing the research for this video, actually. So before we check that one out, make sure you like and subscribe, and consider checking out some of my other videos after you're done watching this one. The first one we have is set 7679, dating back to 2008. Includes 592 pieces, retailing for $50 US. Got your two clone minifigures there in that classic 2008 style. This was definitely a set that I really wanted a lot when I was a kid, but I never actually got it. I just ended up buying it recently here. I got a used copy. It goes for a lot of money new. Like, seal in box, you're looking at like $250 or something like that. US dollars, that is. And even used, I paid about $100 for this on Bricklink. And that was like by far the cheapest one for complete with all the figures and stuff. Closer to like $115, $120 if you're watching on eBay and stuff. So pretty pricey these days. The next one we have is set 75182 from 2017, including 305 pieces, originally retailing for $25 US, so half the price of the previous model there. And you kind of see that you're getting what you're paying for, sort of. It's way smaller, but includes a quite better figure selection, in my opinion, with that Aayla Secura exclusive one. The first one they did was like from a turbo tank. It was in the Clone Wars style, so it looked kind of weird, but it's nice to have like a real actual, like realistically printed one here, so it's really cool. You've got this Phase 2 clone gunner figure here. So like we saw the Phase 1 back in 2008, so it's kind of cool that they had continuity there and made the Phase 2 version. So even though he's not like one of the most desirable clones, it's just cool that they made him, you know? Like just an obscure clone to have. And then to top it off, you've got your two battle droids right there. So the next one they did, it was actually the third Republic fighter tank, was from 2018, set 75213. -5, I guess, because it was day 4 of the Advent calendar from 2018. So that was only 21 pieces. It's a mini model. I don't even actually own it because I didn't realize it existed until I was doing the research for this video. Nothing too cool to see there. Obviously no minifigs, unless you kind of count the whole set of the Advent calendar, which I guess there were minifigures in that. So yeah, there's not exactly a retail price to compare against these ones because you couldn't exactly buy it a la carte. You would have had to buy the entire Advent calendar, but for the sake of being a completionist, I figured I would throw it in there just to mention it. It is a Republic fighter tank. And the last one we have, the newest one, set 75342, Republic fighter tank, which retailed for $40 US, currently is, featured 262 pieces, which is shockingly fewer than the previous one, 305 versus 262, and this is one of the biggest cases that I use for debunking the cost per piece thing, where everyone says 10 cents per piece should be the norm, because clearly more pieces in this, but this is obviously way bigger, more figs, costs a lot more, 40 versus 25. You're paying a lot more money for fewer pieces, because A, the figure selection, huge difference there, and obviously size. You're seeing bigger pieces and stuff. There's more features packed into this one, so it is worth the money, even though it's fewer pieces, so that's just a good example to look at when people are debating the whole cost per piece thing. Side by side, you can see there is quite a huge difference just in the evolution over the years, going from huge to minuscule to probably the more appropriate sized one. You can see a lot of different building techniques. This one clearly suffers from the ages, basically. Like, the cockpit doesn't look very nice. It's kind of a weird slope to it there. Just a bit clunkier of a model, if you ask me. It's very cool as far as the size, though. You're really getting something that you can play with, and it's awesome. A neat little Easter egg, or fun fact, if you want to call it that, there's kind of an error, almost, in, like, the building instructions. So you see how this tile here, or maybe it's a plate, technically, but you see we've got this 4x6, like, tile with the studs on the outside, and you see the non-studded side is on the outside of the build here. On the other side, the studded side is on the outside, and that's exactly how it is in the instructions. The picture, every picture that I could find shows it like that officially. So it's kind of weird that it's asymmetrical. Like, you'd think, you see how like the tiles are on the inside here, the studs on the outside. Other side, studs on the inside, tile on the outside. So that's just kind of a weird continuity error. It bugs me a lot because I guess I'm OCD or something. Maybe it's not a big deal to people, but I figured I'd just mention it because that is kind of weird to see something like that. Usually LEGO is very good about being symmetrical in their instruction manuals, so definitely, as far as I'm aware, that's a unique case there. Let me know in the comments if you happen to know of anything else that is kind of weird like that. Anyways, hopefully I put these pieces back on right. I didn't actually check. But taking a quick look at the play features here, just briefly going over some stuff. Not really a play feature, but this is the only one where these are like posable. I don't think it's supposed to really be posable. It's kind of just the technique that they used to accomplish that angled look that they kind of did for the other ones too. I don't know, so I just think it looks sharper that the whole thing is tilted versus the other ones. I mean, you're using fewer pieces in the other ones too, so it kind of is what it is. If you flip open these side panels here, you'll see a trio of flick fire missiles that it's kind of hard to get in there and flick. I'm not even going to try because I have PTSD from the old days of these flick fire missiles. They really hurt your fingers to flick, but it's cool to see. Obviously, transparent colors are always pretty nifty too. The cannons rotate. They actually have the lowest mobility range of all the fighter tanks. It only goes like straight up and straight this way, so you've got like 90-degree range of motion. It's stopped by this little tiny Technic pin here that kind of like hits this white spot so it does not go too far down. And then I think back here what's stopping it from going up farther is the actual build of this wing or whatever you'd want to call it. It's a pretty nifty cannon. It's pretty stable. Like it doesn't just like pop off. You'd have to really pull it to get in there because there's like a Technic pin in there. So that's cool. Other stuff that is kind of like design flaws from back in the days, like these antennas will always pop off because they're not really connected on there that well. Like these will pop off all the time. Even the hatch isn't like connected super well. It's just this dish and like the 1x1 stud there. But at least there's a control panel in here. That's something we don't always see, as we'll look at in a minute. This one definitely has the best interior of all three of these, if I can kind of take it off without breaking it. I think this is what's supposed to come off. It comes off pretty easily. It's only connected by like 2 studs there. But you can see on the inside, you've got 2 seats, which is great. They're both kind of on different levels. So one lines up with like the window shield. Got a bunch of control panels and stuff in there. And you'll see that rubber band. Hopefully if the lighting is good enough, you'll see the rubber band anyways. Like there's kind of a little latch connected to this back hatch here. So if you pull it down, that seat is actually gonna pop up. Rises very slowly, maybe because it's like super old. But that would pop up and theoretically stick the guy's head out through the hatch if the whole thing was put together. So that's a pretty nifty play feature. Then you have to push it back down and make sure it clips underneath that little thing on the back here. If we look at it, it's falling apart on me already. It's just this little thing here like hooks on the back of this red Technic piece there and keeps the chair down while the lid is closed. The hatch is definitely the coolest looking back hatch of all 3 of these though. Like the build on the outside looks super good, and then when you pull it down, it's just anti-studs and stuff, and obviously your latch there. So kind of contrasts the brand new one where it's like studs on the inside. Like if you pull it down, you can stand figures on this ramp, but when it's closed on the outside, it doesn't really look super well. 2017 brings us a much smaller, more compact model. Arguably, or at least in my opinion, it almost looks better than the other one just as far as the detailing and the contouring and stuff goes. But clearly you're losing a lot of size there and a lot of space. The minifigure hatch, like there's not much of an interior at all. You can sit like the one minifigure in there, and even at that, like he's kind of crammed in there. You do still have the control panel though, so it's got an advantage over something else there. But the hatch itself looks pretty good. It's kind of not the best that there are like these little gaps and stuff in there. But it's sufficient. The antennas are clipped on pretty good. Like nothing really falls off here. Your cannons have a wider range of mobility. Like they go all the way back. They can even point down a bit. What has bothered me so much is that they are not level. Like they point up. Like it's kind of cool like if you're shooting like ships or assault craft or something like that. But just the fact that these physically cannot go down level really bothers me. I don't know why they didn't just put these little clips, because you see like on this side it's got this clip here for the wrench. On the other side there's a clip for the clone gunner's blaster. I don't know why they couldn't just like put the clips 1 or 2 studs farther forward, and then this wouldn't even be stopped and it would actually go a little bit farther down. But I don't know, maybe it just wouldn't look as cool if these were up there, and kind of then it gets in the way of your build. Like that little grate there maybe is in the way of like the actual tool on the stud here. So like if they just put it like this, now the gun would go all the way down and then some, and like it still kind of looks fine. Maybe it's like a little bit protruding forward, but like I don't see why they couldn't have just done it this way, honestly. But it is what it is. Stickers on here look really nice, even though stickers are always a pain anyways, but they're pretty simple and easy to put on. They're all pretty square and stuff. The hatch on the back, sadly, is not nearly as good as the other ones, because being no interior, it is basically just this little container box where you can kind of stash a few extra studs for the flick fire missiles, which if I didn't, or not flick fire, but stud shooters rather, which if I didn't mention before, they are on the sides here. You see there's a stud shooter on the side of each cannon. So I guess you could consider that an added play feature, where the first one has the flick fire missiles, this one has the stud shooters, so arguably a step up as far as functionality, but as far as looks, nah. Skipping over the advent calendar build, because there's no real reason to compare that, we've got the 2022 model, which gives us a more moderate size. Like, it's not super small. It fits all the play features in, but it's clearly not as massive as that first one. But you're not really losing out. Despite the smaller size from the first one, it still kind of covers most of what the first one did cover. So for the interior, the first part we'll point out is this hatch here. Like, this does not match up flush. There's kind of that weird angle here. Like, the hinge is sort of weird. They're using like those, I think, original like Ninjago skeleton arms. So there's a lot of weird mobility here. I just broke it off. But anyways, so I originally thought like there would be a way that you can just bend it so it would line up, and I just thought it was weird in the pictures. But no, this is, no matter what you do or how you play with it, like that's as far as you can bend it, and it just will not be flush. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it doesn't look too bad, I guess, at least not from a distance anyways, but that's the kind of thing that just bothers me, I guess. But anyways, inside there's a seat for your minifigure. I guess you could probably squeeze another one back there. There's just like tiles and stuff, if you can see in there. So it wouldn't really clip down, but I think you could squeeze someone in there. They'd probably have to lay flat. And the sad detail they did not add is a control panel. Like I was pointing out the panels and the other ones before, they couldn't just put like a 1x2 with a sticker or like a printed thing even, or even like a sloped 2x2 or something with a panel on it, or a sticker on the inside of here. Like, just something would have been nice. Like, I wouldn't have cared much. Even if they hadn't done it on the other two, I wouldn't really have brought it up. But the fact it's inconsistent, and in almost all Star Wars sets, it is always there. Like, a control panel is just like a no-brainer kind of for Star Wars. So that's sort of weird to see. The mobility on the cannons, see it points down until it bumps into itself there, basically. And going back, you'll see it's stopped by these spring-loaded missiles, I think they'd be called. So yeah, interesting, they've got just 3 different missile designs. Really goes to show how far LEGO Star Wars has come over the years. Going from flick fire in the first one, stud shooters in the second, and now we've got these spring-loaded missiles in the third one. The best of them all. But without that spring-loaded missile in there, this goes all the way around and points back. So it's just the missile itself is stopping it on the wing or leg here, whatever you'd call it. And from the back, like I mentioned before, the hatch does not look super cool from outside. Like, it's just anti-studs. No one really worries about it. Then when you pull it down, it's like a Technic thing, so it has these degrees of clicking. And you can see that it's like a studded panel, so you can actually have like your minifigures standing on here as if they're going into or out of the thing. So that's pretty nifty. Inside is where it's a tad funky, because like if you had a minifigure sitting in here, the hatch would have to be open. And if he's sitting underneath, he has to either be like lying flat and just kind of in there. Like he wouldn't really click on the studs, or maybe you'd click his legs, feet first here, and his head pointing like inside there. And then he'd be kind of clicked in, and then maybe be room for him. But it's kind of weird, a little bit of a cramped interior, because you're missing out on a little bit of the size of the first one. Not too big of a deal, but it's whatever. And then inside of your cockpit here, there is a control panel, so that is great to see. And it's not like the first one where like the seat rises up or anything. It's kind of just a weird play feature that you'd see in stuff from 2008. But he can sit in there and his head can be poking out. The hatch design itself, in my opinion, by far the coolest. Just how that round piece lines up with the circles there. You are still getting a tiny bit of a gap in the back where you could see through, but honestly not too big of a deal. In contrast with the other ones, at least, it still looks by far the best. And also a lot of stickering too. I'd probably say as far as stickers go, this might be the best for stickers. Again, they're all pretty easy to get on, like all pretty square and stuff. Maybe these ones are angled. I should mention I didn't actually build this. This is my brother's again too. I was hunting for this set for so long. I was looking for it for like 2 weeks before it was released, and then even on release day, like it's still not on Target website. I just checked a couple days ago. It's not on Target's website, not on Walmart's website. Lego stores sold out. Like they had back orders going back like 60 days or something, and now it's just temporarily out of stock. So I could not get one of these. I went to the Lego store on release day, provided I went at like 5 p.m. or something, where it opened at like 11. So even if they might have had a small stock and then just sold out, but like they didn't have any, I went back for like May 4th. I've been there like 3 times and they didn't have it. I've called them. So I don't know what the deal is with availability there, but I did not build this. My brother ordered one from Lego the day it came out. I was so anxious to get this comparison done like before this set even released. And here we are like 2 weeks later and I'm still working on it now. So that's kind of just a bummer. It is also worth noting that all 3 of these like kind of roll around. Not like wheels, but it's not exactly for them to be able to drive, but it's more, oh wow, I just broke these off. Oh man. But it's more so like it doesn't drag. Like if you're playing around with it on the carpet or something, or even on a table, so you're not like scratching up the table. Like so it just kind of rolls around more smoothly. You're not dragging anti-studs across carpet or something. But this one has like these black dishes. It's probably the best of the wheels, honestly. Like it flows the smoothest of the 3 of these. These two are kind of like scrapey and like come to a really short, abrupt stop. This one not so much, but these ones you're kind of seeing like these original jet pieces from the 2005 Jedi Starfighter. That's what I always think of them as. I believe it's the same for this one. Yeah, it's the same type of pieces, but in black. Like, I honestly don't know what the problem would have been with just putting a tire on these, really. Like, sure, people would probably think it's like supposed to be a wheel or something, and it's obviously like a hovering vehicle, not a wheeled vehicle, but it just would have been a lot smoother if they put a tire on it, and I think it would have been a good thing to see, even if it's not perfectly accurate. So I love doing comparisons, no matter what, like no matter how different they are. I like to see how it's evolved over the years. I will do many more comparisons, but I will probably almost always say, if you came here asking which one of these is the best, you came here asking a stupid question, because these are all so different, they pack their own features, and really there's no practical purpose to compare better value or what the price is, because they're just so different. They came out in different times. Like if you adjust for inflation, which I probably should have been professional and done before I did this video, but if you adjusted for inflation, like the middle one is almost the price of this probably by now. Like this one's way more expensive and you're getting way fewer figures. The figure selection is so different. Like the first one, I love the clones. It would just be nice if they threw like at least 2 battle droids, especially being $50, the most expensive of all of these, and having the fewest figures. Like that just does not add up. So I think throwing at least 2 clones in there would have been good, and I'd say that was a competent figure selection. This one, it just kind of throws people off because it's like a clone fighter tank and there's 1 clone. There's more droids than clones. It's not good for an army builder because you're getting like 1 clone. And on that, it's not even a clone that most people care about, like a gunner. Like if the gunner didn't exist, no one would feel like they're missing out on anything, really. But the Jedi is awesome. Like we never saw another like realistic printing style version of Ayla, and it's one of my favorite Jedi figures, honestly. Not just to be a simp, but gotta love that Ayla figure. But it's just weird seeing 2 battle droids versus 1 clone, but it's still a better selection than that first one, I'd probably say, just for sheer numbers for one, and obviously that's a cooler figure to get than just another clone, but this does have that army building type of attitude for it. Although I don't think anyone from 2008 who was 8 years old was going to be buying a bunch of these to army build at $50 a piece, whereas this at $25 would have been a perfect army builder. Honestly, if we just had 2 clones and 2 droids, if you just had a regular white Phase 2 clone and 1 gunner, people would be buying tons of these and just building their army with it. Versus the third one, the figure selection, I think is hands down the best. Like, I'd probably pick Ayla over Mace, but other than that, like, you can't really argue with 6 figures versus 4 versus 2. Like, it's not really a clone trooper type that anyone asked to have. Like, I'm sure you can find other YouTubers going in depth on all that stuff, but I like these guys. They're really cool, even though they aren't exactly canon, for one. I think Mace Windu's actual 187th is like brown. So if this wasn't like a blatant retcon of like what they actually are in the Clone Wars, they'd be a little bit cooler, but it's kind of weird that these are just blatantly contradicting canon when 187ths are brown and these 187ths are purple. If they just made up like a different number, like a completely random number that doesn't exist, I think it would be a little bit more fine, but I'm just nitpicky. No one else cares, really. But like the one guy, as far as army building goes, I think he's supposed to be a commander, so technically if you bought like 5 of these, you'd have 5 commanders, but I would just not worry about that, because for one, he's not even canon. He's kind of just like an airborne trooper. Like, it's not a big deal. No one really cares. Seeing 2 of these Phase 2 guys, though, they are beautiful. I want to put one, like, make one a little darker, like swap out a black hip piece and like maybe put purple arms or something on it just to see how it looks. I think it'd be really cool. So I hope to buy a handful of these, like maybe 5. Maybe I'll try to buy like a bunch of these, just the figures on Bricklink or something. I think it'd just be really cool to have a small platoon of purple guys. Purple is like my favorite color. And then throwing 2 battle droids on there never hurts. Make it a little more comparable with that one. So as far as figure selections, like you're obviously getting a very different thing from all 3 angles. But if you were going to say anything is more advantageous, if one of these had an advantage over the other one, it would be the figure selection over these guys. So that is noteworthy. But as far as like play features, I think the first one wins by far. As far as displayability, I would honestly say the middle one for sure. And then the last one, kind of just a mix of everything. Like the design is like a mix of 2 different tank designs for one thing. I like that you can fit the 2 figures in there for sure. That is really cool. And the hatch does look sleek. I mean, this second one, the hatch doesn't look very bad either, but this one, it definitely looks the nicest in that regards. But as far as the outside, like, it really truly does almost look like a 4+ set. Like, it just looks like chunky and blocky. Like a 4-year-old could build this, where there's like way more contouring and detail on the sides. Even back to 2008 is more detailed than the new one. But at $40 for like your 6 figures there, like that's hard to beat as well, especially when these go on sale. Like if you can get it for $32 at Walmart or Target, plus I work at Target, I get like a 10% discount plus 5% discount for the red card. Like I can get these super cheap whenever they go on sale, and I plan on doing that for sure. Might even buy some extra ones as like an investment or something just to have. But realistically, as far as comparing price and value for price, like for one thing, I'd say this is flat down the best value anyways. And you've kind of got to consider inflation. Not only that, but like the realistic price you're going to be paying on eBay. Like if you want to buy this, it's like $100 to buy a brand new one. Even like a used one is like 50 to 70 or something. I don't really know. I bought this like a year and a half ago maybe. I believe it was 65 or something like that, or maybe 70 with shipping included. So it's gone up a whole lot. And I don't know how much higher it's going to go up, like where it would be worth it to invest at this point, where it'd be worth it to like pay 100 just for the chance of selling it for 120 in 2 years or something. But I don't really know. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just saying comparatively for value, like you've got to realistically think now in these modern times, if you're looking to buy one of these 3 tanks, you're kind of going to buy this unless you had a specific reason to buy these, which is why I'm saying they're not the best for comparison, because they're all different things. If you're buying these, you're buying it specifically because there is a specific reason. There's something this has that these don't. There's something this has that these other 2 don't. Realistically, it's almost apples and oranges there. So that pretty much covers my thoughts on all of the LEGO Star Wars Republic fighter tanks. Be sure to like and subscribe. Comment what your favorite one is down in the comments. Just I want to assess like what everyone thinks about these, honestly. Like there's such a variety here. I think everyone has a lot of different opinions. People have a lot of nostalgia, people who grew up with this one, I'm sure. But yeah, just let me know what your favorite one is. Let me know what you think about the figures. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace out.